What is going on, you wonderful thought-having people, you? As always, I'm Jake from Give It Thought, and let's just get right into some actual patch notes for No Man's Sky's 1.1 update. As with all these patch notes videos I do, there's no way I could go over every single one, so I'll just be hitting on the more important stuff. So I won't be mentioning stuff like this: fixed size of certain texture Atlas normal maps, and only because it seems really inconsequential to the actual gameplay. But enough of that disclaimer, let's start off with the changes to the general gameplay. The first thing I wanted to mention, and is something I accidentally skipped over in yesterday's video, is this: added interactable objects that required certain tech to collect. What this is referring to is the hazmat gloves, and you can actually see it in the update trailer being used on those biome specific plants. Next up is that signal scanners are now called signal boosters, and those were updated to search for player bases, suit upgrade pods, and mineable resources. And you can now build signal boosters as a form of field technology. The next one was a biggie for me. They have now fixed it so that it does not rain inside caves. I wish I had some gameplay to show it, but it didn't happen often. But when it did, it was really weird. Hello Games also removed the Atlas Pass V1 requirement to access some of the doors in space stations. This could go either way for me, but I'd say new players will find it a welcome addition, or I guess it would be a subtraction. They also fixed the game always remaining in daytime for players who began their save prior to patch 1.03 issue, which I didn't have, but I have seen some complaints about it down in the comments of my videos, so I'm glad that got patched. Now onto the user interface improvements, which were some of the biggest improvements in my opinion. Hello Games added new icons for specific types of primary resources, which is really noticeable if you have played since the update. They also fixed health bars not appearing on some targets and added hazard and life support drain indicators, which are little arrows that appear beside those meters. We also got some improvements to the discovery menu, and those are massive speed improvements for browsing huge discovery lists and increased size of discovery storage. I don't know about you, but this is a feature I kind of left behind once I played so long, but I know it's something a lot of people enjoy. We also got separate optimization features for both platforms. On PS4 we got a photo mode and obviously base building, and on PC we got support for 8 mouse buttons, they fixed a gamma setting bug, made a notification for player when shaders are being loaded, and again there's the base building. Now we have some generation updates to look at. First we have new biome specific plants, which is something I mentioned in yesterday's video, but I didn't go into much detail. This is a fantastic addition and one that I think they'll keep adding on to because it builds on the realness of the game. It's not perfect right now because a lot of them don't seem to be in separate biomes, not for me at least, but it is a start. But they made the plants more lifelike by spacing them out less evenly on the surface and made it so that not just one type of plant appears here and not over there. Onto the actual planet stuff. Hello Games made it so you can visually tell the difference between red, blue, and green star systems. I'd be willing to bet a lot of players don't even know the difference because it's pretty hard to tell if you haven't played too long. And they actually made good on the promise that resources will only be discoverable in certain star systems. I hope they look back at Murray's interviews and just have a big checklist of things he claimed were in No Man's Sky to begin with and add those to the game. We got a bunch of planet optimizations, and I'm going to run through those really quick. Reduced average building frequency, introduced planets with elevated building density, introduced planets with no buildings or sentient life, increased proportion of lush and tropical planets, and decreased the proportion of lifeless planets. So all of that stuff is good, especially the fact that there are now less lifeless planets. We also got some atmospheric improvements, which are basically just improved fog and cloud rendering. I haven't noticed many more blue skies than usual, but it says their frequency has been increased. And as I mentioned in my previous video, the terrain of planets has been vastly improved. I mean, this is the biggest difference in the game to me, besides base building obviously. The most noticeable change for the terrain is that they improved and extended blend areas between different terrain noise types. This took me out of the game more often than not, and while it's still not perfect, it is better. I assume we'll see more improvements in future updates. More open terrains now load into the game, and there is supposed to be more varied colored terrains. In particular, there is a decreased brown terrain frequency, which I think a lot of people will be happy about. They also improved transition between the different colors of the terrain and the blending that comes along with that. They really went out of their way in this area, and Hello Games fixed a lot of things here that needed fixing. Moving on, now we're getting to the visuals. This is not something that I'll harp on too long because it is mostly the same as the terrain stuff, but they improved some things like muzzle flash, explosion effects, and improved the lighting in just about every area imaginable. Like the terrain changes, I love stuff like this because you can see the difference while playing. They also improved the space combat combat quite a bit, but this isn't something that I've had time to mess around with a lot. According to the notes though, they improved the HUD while in your ship, added new ship weapon tech, improved the lock-on function, which they really messed up in the last update, and they improved the handling of ships by now allowing you to drift on turns. Next up we have freighters, and I cannot wait to mess around with those. There's now docking on them, which we saw in the trailer yesterday. They added cargo holds, added extra freight ships to make groups of freighters, and added alarms so that you know when your freighter is under attack. And finishing up with the audio, we got a slew of new sound effects, like rain hitting your ship, rain hitting trees, footstep sounds specific for freighters, freighter alarms and explosions, and freighter door sounds. This was all necessary stuff because these features weren't in the game before, but an interesting addition is the fact that no music will play on dead planets now. I love this because it adds to the feeling of isolation, which No Man's Sky is really good at. But that's all the notes I'm going to go over today. If you want to go check out the full list, I'll leave a link in the description below. But be sure to tell me what you think is missing from these patch notes and what you hope will be in the next update. And I think that's where I'm going to end today's video. And really quick, I just wanted to plug something I don't plug often, and that's my Twitter account. I urge you guys to go follow me on there because it'll let you know when videos are going to come out and if they're going to be late or not, and plus it'll give you an extra place to just talk to me. And that's what I enjoy most about this channel, talking to everyone. But if you enjoyed this video, you know what you have to do. Hit that like button for me, and if you're new here, why not subscribe? I put out a new video every single day, and if you want to be first in line for those, the best way to do that is to be under a subscription. And if you missed yesterday's video, I broke down the Foundation update trailer for No Man's Sky, and there's some stuff in that video that I didn't get to mention here, so if you want the full story on the Foundation update, it's best to watch both of these videos. But I think that's it for me today. Thank you so much for watching, and remember, give thought to everything.